what I say? What I say?
Kilayim.
That sounds good too. Okay.
We'll do
Well, I,
Kilayim later.
uh, um, okay. Hey, Gimel. A ditch 10 deep and 4 wide, which crosses a vineyard. Rav Eliezer ben Yaakov says if it traverses the vineyard from beginning to end, then it has the appearance of lying between two vineyards, and one may sow in it. But if not, it is like a wine press. And a wine press 10 deep and 4 wide in a vineyard, Rav Eliezer says one may sow in it, but the Kachamim forbid it. A watch mound 10 high and 4 wide in a vineyard, one may sow on it, but if he tips up the branches entwined, it's forbidden. Vine planted in a wine press or a cleft is granted its tillage space, and one may sow the rest. Rabbi Yossi says if there are not four amos between, one may not bring seeds there, and one may sow in a house located in a vineyard. If one plants vegetables or retains them in a vineyard, he renders forbidden 45 vines. When? If they're planted 4 or 5 apart, and if they were planted 6 or 7 apart, he renders forbidden 16 amos in every direction, in a circle and not in a square. Okay.
Mishnah Vav. Haro'e Yarak B'Kerem. Okay, so here's a guy. First of all, just basic principles. Let's just understand that that Kilaya Kerem can only become asur if the owner intentionally put them there or left them there. If they grew by themselves, then he's not held to blame. So he had a vineyard and some seeds blew in the wind and took root. All that he has to do is uproot them as soon as he knows about it.
Right.
Okay, because everything that grew up until that point is mutar, and he just has to. I mean, it doesn't destroy the vineyard. He just has to go and uproot and destroy whatever he uproots.
Right.
Okay. Now, um, another fact to bear in mind, which will help you to understand this Mishnah, is that there's a sheer bittul for kilaya hakerem. Okay, and that is 1 against 200.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have something that was kilaya kerem, you were on your way to destroy it and it fell into your food. Okay, now the question is how much is allowed, and it's got to be at 200 against one, not just like your regular 60 to one for not in time, not even like 1 against 100 for truma. This is 1 against 200. Okay. Now that's going to play a part in what we're going to see in this Mishnah. So ha'ro'e yarak b'kerem v'amar kasher lo alaktenu. Mutar. So he's in his vineyard and he's busy pruning the vines, and he sees up ahead of him, where in his direction of walking is something that's Kilaya Kerim. And he says, "Look, I'm busy over here. When I get to it, I'll uproot it."
Okay.
Okay, and he's taking a while, and it noticeably grows. I'm not sure what is growing over there that's going to grow so noticeably in such a short time, but the principle is that even if it does grow, it still remains mutar because he was on his way there. He just hadn't had a chance to get there yet. Okay. However, if he's walking past it and let's say his arms are full, and he looks at it on this next to him and says, "Oh, that's Kilai Cameron. I'd better get rid of that." But when I come back, and he walks on carrying his stuff, and he's left it behind. So now
Right.
tolerating it. Now he doesn't. He was right there. He could have put the stuff down, uprooted it, and carried on. Um, but he's shown that he's actually cool with it being there. So now, it doesn't immediately become usher or destroy any part of his vineyard. But now this is where the shear of 200 to 1 comes in, because whatever's in the ground over there is considered mutar. Okay. Now, if, however, it grows an extra 1/200th of what it is right now, then there's no shear bittul. Okay. So that now it's more than the shear bittul that you're out of there. If it grows more than 1/200th, then that is full on kilaya hekerim that he allowed to be there, that he's treated as if he planted it there. And now, not only is it Asur, but you've got your 16 Amos radius in the vineyard that also
Done is do it right away. He should have put down where he was, whatever he was
should have
doing,
should
gone
have
right
done it
from
right away.
there.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell 1/200th of what. It's hard
Yeah.
to pick.
That's your principle. Now, we put that down as the shear in case you're able to measure, and sometimes you're going to be most of the time you're going to be left with a case of suffix.
Yeah.
And
Right.
in this case, you're going to have Suffolk Doraisa as Asar.
Right. Right.
So it's going to wind up being destroyed. It's only kind of if he knows that it has not reached 1/200th of extra growth that he's going to be able to keep it.
Did the comment was this the 1/200 was put out so that he wouldn't be blamed so much? If he went right over and did it, it's one
So where
thing.
does the share of 1 in 200 come from? It's actually in the commentary. Um,
It says some hold that this message we have been fixed by the Chachamim who declared that vineyard Kilayim is annulled by a quantity of non-prohibited produce at least 200 times greater.
mhm.
So the Chachamim did come up with this maybe to save him some way.
Maybe before, so the Midorai said might be just a rov,
Uh-huh.
uh, and Chachamim made a more stringent measure, possibly.
Maybe.
Okay. Mishnah Zion. Okay. Haya over Bekerim. So he's walking through his vineyard, and he's busy munching pitzuchim, right? Or something like that. He's carrying some other kind of edible seeds, um,
Mhm.
and something fell behind him. Okay, well, something fell from him, or sheyatzu im hazvalim, or it just went out. There just some seeds went out in the manure, or im hamayim, or they were washed in during the irrigation process. Hazorea v'se'aratu haruach la'acharav, or he was planting in a nearby field, which was mutar because it was 4 amas away, and some wind came and blew the seeds into the kerem. This is all mutar. It does not cause, and because he only has to uproot it if he sees it taking root, right? If once he sees it taking root, he has to go and clean it up. But it doesn't have to go digging through the vineyard to find whatever seeds got blown over there.
I had
Okay,
this before somewhere in another Mishnah with if it blew behind him and he was sowing, or in front of him, right?
that's this
Was it
one.
this one? It
Yeah.
was one.
Yep.
Okay. Mm.
Okay. Now what happens? Sierra to haruach lefanav. However, if the wind blows in front of him, in other words, this is the direction where he's seeing where things are happening. Rabbi Akiva Omer, im asavim yufach. Um, Now this isn't actually. I think, and I'm reading this again. I'm wondering if I understood it properly because im as so um, if what is asavim? Because we can't be talking about that he. Hmm. Oh no, this does not. Now this doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to just pick up my own commentary over here and reread this because he was carrying seeds and
Mhm.
and they flew, right? They flew in the
Right.
wind. So now what is Rabbi Akiva talking about? Rabbi Akiva says if he found in his vineyard, as he noted, if he found in his vineyard blades, right, which grew
I'm
from
looking
some,
at that. Right.
that must be plowed up. So he's got to go back and plow it, uproot it to prevent further growth. And if they developed so as to be in ear, but have not yet grown to a third of their size, so you can see the unripe ears of grain, um, but they're not yet to a third of the mature size. They must be beaten, right? Which according to which in the Yerushalmi it says either he must beat the kernels which are forbidden out of the ears and which are permitted, or according to Rabbi Yochanan, both kernels and ears must be destroyed since all of it is forbidden. And the same applies to blades. The Mishnah's use of a different expression in each of the three cases teaches that each must be destroyed in a different way. At the stage of mere blades, they are plowed up. Once in ear, they must be beaten out. Um, and if it's produced corn, if it actually had produced edible grain, it must be burned, as is the rule for Kilayim Kerim, um, which means that everything in the vineyard becomes aser. Now this is yeah, so this is difficult. Like, why is that different from if it fell behind him? Because if it fell in front of him, that should or if it's because he saw it going and we're saying that he was happy with it being there, then as soon as it grows, the whole vineyard should be destroyed.
Right,
That's
right.
why the roots and this sounds like this is what you how you would treat it for the things that fell behind you. That something is growing, I better get rid of it. Um, so this is where he says Kahati brings this commentary in Eretz Chemda. Rabbi Israeli explains the difference between the wind blew it behind him and the wind blew it before him is not that in the former case he didn't notice the wind blowing the seeds into the vineyard, whereas in the latter he did, as we explained in the Mishnah according to Rambam. Even when he did not notice the seeds being blown into the vineyard behind him, he saw the wind blowing and therefore knew they were falling into the vineyard, and there's no difference between seeing and knowing. Moreover, the Mishnah incorporates the wind blew it behind him into the first section with the other cases, which are permitted because the produce was not sown the usual way. Mm. Rather, the principal difference between blew it before him and blew it behind him seems to be that the latter is not the regular procedure whereby the sower scatters the seeds in front of him, whereas in our case, this is affected by the wind, which does not qualify as sowing. If the wind blew it before him, on the other hand, it marks the regular sowing merely aided by the wind. Uh, Sifri states, I might have excluded one who sows and is aided by the wind, wherefore it is written, which you have sown. Rambam's comment there, provided he notices it, explains why it is regarded as normal sowing, in that once he notices the seeds falling, he perceives the fulfillment of his purpose. The clause, and he sees it, may further teach us that the obligation to pluck depends on whether one has seen while the seeds fell. Still, still doesn't sit well with me, because it's I still don't see the distinction, considering that we've already said that even if something just happened by itself without us noticing, and we see it growing, you have to uproot it immediately. So what did this Mishnah add? Um, I don't know. Um, okay, I'll have to leave it at that. Mishnah Ches, Hamakayim Kotzim Bakerim. Let's say what grows inside the field, not edible stuff, but thorns that are used for animal fodder. Camels sometimes eat these thorns. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Kiddush says even if it's animal fodder, it's kilaya kerem and it's going to destroy his vineyard. Chachamim אומרים לא כדאיש, אלא דבר שכמוסו מקיימים. No, you don't. It doesn't cause any issue, except if it's a species that you generally would want to keep. So Haeros, I think, is a lily. Kisos is another kind of
Ivy.
huh?
The first one's iris, the second one's ivy.
Iris,
They
ivy, Shoshana
king, king's lily and all kinds of seeds.
so basically ornamental plants.
Right.
So ornamental plants do not cause kilaya kerim. Hakanbus, hemp. Rabbi Tarfon omer eino kilayim v'chachamim omrim kilayim. No, this is kilayim because we do use the produce for practical purposes, even if you don't eat it or smoke it. But I don't think they were thinking about that at the time. But hemp was used for clothing. So cotton would also be in the same category, and that would be kilayim. But kinras, artichoke, kilayim bekerim. That for sure is kilaya kerem because that's got edible pieces in it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Never had an artichoke.
you've never had artichoke.
For some reason, I just can't even think about eating artichokes and what's the other one? It's a green thing. My wife always she loves it. You know what it is? I can't think what it is. It's
Even artichoke hearts without all the leaves and things.
never
No?
had. Never. My head doesn't go around. I don't know why. I don't know why. All right, Kilayim. Don't test. If
Ever
one
done
wishes,
hearts of palm?
to pop. No, I don't eat that either.
Oh, okay, that's consistent then.
I'm not such a fussy eater, but there's just some vegetables I don't know. If one wishes to lay out his field in patches of different species, he must make 24 patches to a bed saw. Each patch one bed rover, and now sow it in any species he wishes. If there were one or two patches, he may sow them with mustard. Three, he may not sow them with mustard because it looks like a mustard field. So says Rav Meir. But if we come and say 9 patches are permitted, 10 are forbidden. Rabbi Eliezer Yaakov says even if all his field is a bet core, he may not take it in more than one patch. Um, Everything within a bet rova is included in the measurement of the bet rova. The space occupied by a vine, a grave, or a rock is included in the measurements of a bet rova. Grain with grain, bet rova, vegetables with vegetables, 6 cubits. Grain with vegetables, vegetables with grain, a bet rova. And Rebbe Eliezer says vegetables with grain, 6 cubits. Grain overhanging grain, vegetables over vegetables, grain over vegetables, vegetables over grain, all are permitted except Greek gourd. Red Meir says also cucumber and Egyptian beans, but I prefer their word to mine.
Yeah.
Well, that other green thing is something they make guacamole with. I forget what it's called.
Avocado?
Avocado. Yeah, I don't need that either.
Oh,
I,
really?
I don't know why. I just, all right.
And you're
Grain.
lost.
Okay. Paya. Grain which is given for fodder and for binding sheaves, and similarly, stalks of garlic and bundles of garlic and onions are not liable to shikaka. And anything buried in the ground, such as loaf, garlic, and onions, Rabbi Yehuda says they are not liable to shikaka, but the sages say they are liable to shikaka. And and if one reaps at night and binds sheaves in the blind person, the law of shikaka applies. If he attends to take,
You skipped something. Come back.
I did 10.
No, well, we started with 9.
No, okay. I don't think I started with 9. A plucked grain and a sorrow of unplucked, and similarly used trees, garlic, and onions are not joined together to make two sa'as, but belong to the poor. The Yossi says if anything that belongs to the poor into feedings, they do not join together, and if not, they join together. And then I did 10, so now 11. Right. If one reaps at night and binds sheaves, and the blind person, the law of shikakar applies. If he intends to take only the large ones, the law of shikakar does not apply. If he said, I reap on condition that what I forgot I will take is liable to shikakar. Okay, now we got it. Okay, neither. Mhm. Neither. Okay. Um, okay, Yud Zion. But they agree that she may eat Maisa Sheni and that she may break off a portion of dough as kala and place it in its proximity to the remainder of the dough and designate it as kala. And that if some of her saliva or her tahor blood fell on a loaf of truma, it is tahor. Beit Shammai says she requires immersion in a mikveh at the conclusion of her days of tahor blood, but Beit Hillel says she does not require immersion at the conclusion of her days of tahor blood. Regarding a woman who discharged uterine blood on the seventh day for her Ziva days, and she immersed that night and had relations with her husband, Beit Shammai says they rend the tummy of the couch and the seat on which they rest, and they're obligated to bring an offering. And Beis Hillel says they're exempt from bringing an offering. If she immersed on the following day and then had relations with the husband, and afterwards she discharged uterine blood, Beit Shammai says they rend the tummy of the couch, the seat on which they rest, but exempt from bringing an offering. But Beis Hillel says this husband is an intemperate one. And they agree in the case of a woman who discharged blood in the middle of 11 days of Ziva and immersed that night and had relations with the husband, and they render the tummy of the couch and the seat on which they rest, and they are liable to bring an offering. If she immersed on the following day and had relations with her husband, this is bad behavior, and what they touch and the liability of an offering for it, the cohabitation is pending.
Adonallah.
Adrian,
Nida.
Makshira, we have one Makshira. Okay. Concerning any liquid with one was pleased at the beginning, even though he was not pleased at the end, or if he was pleased at the end, even though he was not pleased at the beginning, it is included in the law of if water is placed. Some liquids convey tuma, whether one was pleased or one was not pleased with the wedding. Okay. And okay, Yud Zayin Hey. The pomegranate of which the rabbi spoke is neither small nor large, but of medium size. If so, in what regard were the pomegranates of Baden mentioned? That a forbidden pomegranate of Baden prohibits an entire mixture of any amount. These are the words of Rav Meir. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says they were mentioned in regard to measuring with them holes and utensils. And Rabbi Kiva says it was mentioned for this and for that to measure with them holes and utensils, and that a forbidden pomegranate of Baden prohibits an entire mixture in any amount. Rabbi Yossi said the pomegranates of Baden and the leeks of Giva were not mentioned except in the regard that they should be tied and certain masa everywhere. The The egg of which the rabbi spoke is neither large nor small, but of medium size. And Rabbi Yehuda says, one brings the very largest egg and the very smallest egg, places them in water and divides the water. Rabbi Yoshi says, but who can inform me which is the largest and which is the smallest? Rather, all depends on the estimation of the examiner. The dried fig of which the rabbi spoke is neither large nor small, but of medium size. And Rabbi Yehuda says the largest one of Eretz Israel is equal to the medium-sized one of other countries. Okay. We are on to Sanhedrin. Okay. Zion Chet. One who desecrates the Sabbath is with something which is punishable by Karas if done intentionally and obligates a sin offering if done inadvertently. One who curses his father or mother is not liable unless he curses them with the name of Hashem. If he cursed them with the secondary name, Reb Meah holds him liable and will come and acquit him. One who cohabitates with a betrothed Nara is not liable unless she is a Nara, a virgin, betrothed, and still in her father's house. If two men cohabitated with her, the first is stoned and the second is strangled. An instigator or to idolatry is a common person who instigates a common person. He says to him, there is deity in such and such a place, and then he eats. Thus he drinks, thus he bear benefits, but thus he does harm. We do not conceal witnesses to entrap anyone punishable by death according to the Torah law, except by this one. If he spoke to two and they are his witnesses, they bring him to court and stone him. If he spoke to one, he says, I have friends who desire this. If he is clever and says that he is unable to speak before them, they conceal witnesses behind the partition. And he says to them, say that which you said to me in private. The other says to him, in which he replies, how can we abandon God, our God in heaven, and go worship wood and stones? If he retracts it, it is good. If he says this is our obligation, it is proper for us, then standing behind the partition, bring him to the court and stone him. Included in this is anyone who says, I shall serve, I shall go and serve, let us go and serve, I shall slaughter an offering, and I shall go and slaughter an offering, let us go and slaughter an offering. I shall burn an offering, and I shall go and burn an offering, and let us go and burn the offering. I shall pour a libation, I shall go and pour a libation, let us go and pour a libation. I shall bow down, I shall go bow down, and let us go and bow down. One who leads astray is one who says, let us go and serve idols.
Okay.
And Sukkah. Okay, Sukkah. Dalet Aleph. Lulav and Arava lasted for 6 or 7. Hallel and the rejoicing are 8. Sukkah and the libation for 7, and the fruit 5 or 6. How is a lulav 7? If the first day of the festival fell on Shabbos, the lulav was 7th. Any of the remaining days 6. How is the Arava 7? If the 7th day of the Arava fell on the Shabbos, the Arava is 7, and on any of the remaining days 6. Okay. Okay. Terrific. Great. Have a great Shabbos. Enjoy, and I will see you Sunday, Mr. Shem.
Hashem.
Okay.